Chapter 1. Has everyone forgotten? It was a bright January morning in the city of Zootopia, and Nick Wilde was fast asleep. Suddenly, he woke up to see that Judy Hopps was right by him. "Morning, Carrots," Nick said.
"Morning, Nick,"
Judy replied.
"I suppose today's something special."
"Yes," Nick said. "Could you take a guess?"
"National Blueberry Day?"
Judy guessed.
"I'm gonna hang out at the mall with Ben today."
"No," Nick corrected. "I was thinking about something else. Are you planning anything special?"
"Sure, Nick."
Judy answered.
"You'll find out soon after."
"I guess so," Nick said.
"I'll see you this afternoon."
Judy responded. "I'll see you then, I guess," Nick said with a puzzled grin.
"Bye, Nick,"
Judy said as Nick left. Nick waved goodbye as he closed the door. Nick strolled down the hallway. "Has everyone forgotten?" he said to himself. "Today is a day that matters to me. I guess I'll be at the park for a few hours." Minutes later, Judy was at the ZPD.
"All right, everybody.
Judy said.
Time for phase 1 of Nick's surprise party. Chief Bogo, you'll set up the pictures. Ben, you'll set up the decorations. Finnick, you'll set up the photo booth. And has Gideon delivered Nick's cake already?"
"Yes," Ben answered. "It's covered with blueberry frosting. That's Nick's favorite."
"Great,"
Judy answered.
"that's just the cake we ordered."
Judy was pleased. Meanwhile, Nick was sitting at the park and listening to some of his favorite songs, including Thomas Morley's Join Hands. Then, Gideon Gray decided to sit right next to Nick. "Hi, Gideon," Nick said. "How, Nick?" Gideon said. "Judy told me that she has something special for you later on today." "Thanks, Gideon," Nick said. "I think I'll go to the mall. See you later." "Bye, Nick," Gideon said as Nick left for the mall. At the mall, Nick was looking for a new pair of glasses to wear. He also decided to get a blueberry mocha with whipped cream at Starbucks. After his coffee break, Nick decided to have lunch at Burger Bell. While he was there, Gideon sat down for lunch too. Nick was given a blueberry pie, while Gideon was given some fries in return. Chapter 2. A Story from Nick. After lunch, Nick decided to do story time with some of the children at the city library. "Hi, kids," Nick said with a grin. "I'm Officer Nicholas Wilde, but just call me Officer Wilde." A pup raised his own paw. "Yes?"
"What's that big mess around your face?"
the pup said. "I had a blueberry pie earlier. This guy named Gideon Gray gave it to me."
"I know that guy. He was at my birthday party. He even made cupcakes for me."
Well, let me start today's story. It's called Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. Nick started to read this book.
On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton. But who are you? Where? He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there, but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. I say, murmured Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think that there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust. Some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow into the pool he has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because, after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. So gently and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air. He lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down, safe, on a very soft clover. Humph, humphed the voice. 'Twas a sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Humph, too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been. Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely. My ears are quite keen, and I heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4. Quite likely a family for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle of Newell. And the kangaroos plunged into the cool of the pool. What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked a clover and hustled away. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked worrying, almost for an hour. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down, and I won't, after all. A person's a person, no matter how small. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint he could just barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice, you're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks on this dust speck to no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores. You mean, Horton gasped, you have buildings there too? Oh yes, peeped the voice, we most certainly do. I know, called the voice, I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us who aren't big, they are wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, You're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down. But, just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, What rot! This elephant's talking to Whos who are not. There aren't any who's, and they don't have a mayor. And we're going to stop all this nonsense, so there. They snatched Horton's clover. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikoff. A mighty strong eagle, of very swift wing. And they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant could even speak, that eagle flew off with the flower in his beak. All that afternoon, and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after, with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, "Please don't harm all my little folks who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do." But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through, I'm a bird, I don't mind it, and I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it." And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. "I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover by clover he found that the one that he sought for was just not around. And by noon poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3,000,000th flower. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well?" From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. "We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chair smashed, and our bicycle tires all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please," pleaded the voice of the mayor's, "will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs?" "Of course," Horton answered, "of course I will stick. I'll stick by you small folks through thin and through thick." "Humph," humphed the voice, "for almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who's never existed. Such carrying-ons in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle." "And I am here to state," snapped the big kangaroo, "that your silly, nonsensical game is all through." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." With the help of the Wickersham brothers, and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins, and Wickersham in-laws who've helped I've engaged, you're going to be roped, and you're going to be caged. And for your dust-specked, that we shall boil in a hot steaming kettle of bezelnut oil. "Boil it," gasped Horton. "Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. They'll prove it to you." "Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor," Horton called. "Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out, make every who holler, make every who shout, make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a bezelnut stew." And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in Whoville Town Square, and his people cried loudly, They cried out in fear. "We are here! We are here! We are here! We are here!" The elephant smiled. "That was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well." "All I heard," snapped the big kangaroo, "was the breeze, and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me neither." "Grab him," they shouted, "and cage the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dumb speck in bezelnut juice." Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they started to haul him into a cage, and he managed to call to the mayor, "Don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try." The mayor grabbed a tom-tom. He started to smack it. And all over Whoville they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles, they beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots, on clarinets, oompas, and boompas, and flutes. Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mayor called up through the howling, mad hullabaloo, "Hey Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?" Through the town rushed the mayor, from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough, all that ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere, and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker, quite hidden away in the Fairfax apartments, apartment 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was standing, just standing and bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp, and the mayor rushed in, and he grabbed the young twerp. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. The time for all whos who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "We've got to make noises in greater amounts, so open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts." Thus he spoke as he climbed, and when they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and shouted out, "Yop!" And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean. And the elephant smiled. "Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all." "How true, yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them, with you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." From sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish.
The end. The children were delighted. Chapter 3. Preparing Nick's surprise party. Meanwhile, at the ZPD, Judy was hanging a sign that said, "Happy Birthday, Nick," behind Clawhauser's desk.
There,
Judy said.
that's the spot.
"Hops!" Chief Bogo called out. He was lugging a Poland 306A model chainsaw that he had in his garage. "How about I use this chainsaw to cut Wild's birthday cake?"
That sounds like a great idea,
Judy replied.
but not until after he blows out his candles.
She was thinking of other plans for Nick. As she left for Nick, she made it to the park before she noticed that Nick had already made it there. He already had lunch and read a story with some kids at the library. Nick saw Judy sitting down right next to him. "Hey, Carrots," Nick said. "What plans do we have this afternoon?"
Not much, Nick.
Judy answered.
It's only something I have for you. It's a surprise.
Chapter 4. The Surprise Party. As Nick entered the main hall, the room was dark. He was puzzled. "Hello?" he called out.
Where did everybody go?
"Clawhauser?" He looked across the room. "Carrots? Chief Bogo?" he called out. "Gideon?" Suddenly, the lights came on. All of Nick's friends appeared from where they were hiding. They had planned a surprise party for Nick. "Surprise!" everyone called out. "Happy birthday, Nick!" Nick couldn't believe his eyes. "Really?" he said in disbelief. "A surprise party? How sweet, everybody!" Nick decided to sit at the table for his cake. He put on a blue party hat, which matched his uniform. After, Gideon set Nick's cake in front. Clawhauser decided to light Nick's candles for him. After Judy, Gideon, Finnick, Ben, and Chief Bogo sang happy birthday for Nick, he decided to make a quick birthday wish before he blew out his candles. About 30 seconds later, Chief Bogo brought out his Poland 306A chainsaw. "Everybody stay clear," Chief Bogo told everyone. "As I promised to Officer Hops, I'll be using this chainsaw to cut the cake for an Officer Wild." Nick smiled as Chief Bogo cut Nick's cake in 6 equal parts with his chainsaw. After Nick had eaten his piece of cake, he read the card with his first gift, which came from Clawhauser. It said, "May you have the birthday of your dreams." He opened it up to reveal the message. "Happy birthday, Nick. You always make my day. From Clawhauser." He then decided to open his first gift. A brand new DVD of New Line Cinema's 2003 crossover movie Freddy vs. Jason, and even a NECA-bladed glove, Nick said with astonishment. "I love this movie. Thanks, Ben." Gideon gave Nick his next gift. He opened Gideon's card. "Here's to all the blueberry pies in the world. Happy birthday, Nick. From Gideon Gray." He unwrapped the package to reveal one of Nick's most wanted items. The Tri-Illusion Kinetic by Natural Wonders, Nick said with a surprised expression. Thanks, Gideon. Nick decided to open the gift from Finnick next. He pulled out a new puppet to add to his collection. It was Isaac the Lion. He already had Bard the Dragon, Pavlov the Dog, Ludwig the Giraffe, Vincent van Gogh, Quackamus the Duck, and now Isaac the Lion. Finnick got this on Etsy because of how Isaac appealed to him. He gave Finnick a quick hug to show his appreciation. After this, Chief Pogo gave Nick his next gift. Nick opened it to find it was a new Tom and Jerry DVD, the Gene Dice Collection. After this, Nick had one gift left, and that one was from Judy Hobbs. He unwrapped it to reveal a Nintendo 3DS XL Pokemon X and Y Blue Edition with Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and a Lucario amiibo. He was over the moon about this. Thank you, everyone, Nick said with a grin. This is the best birthday ever. You know, guys, Gideon began, I've learned something today. One thing that matters in life is being happy for what we have.